بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Just as a reminder that we are starting at 2:45, not after Asr, right? So for those of you who are coming now, you already missed the review questions. So if you want to get a full benefit, make sure you come a little bit earlier. Anyhow, let's just jump right into the tafsir of the next surah that is in order. Last week we discussed Surah Al-Kawthar, so next surah in the reverse order is Surah Al-Ma'un. Surah Al-Ma'un. And Surah Al-Ma'un, there is, just similar to Surah Al-Kawthar and other surahs as well. We do have some narrations, mentioned in books of tafsir and other books as well as to why the surah was revealed, what incident took place to cause the surah to get revealed. So for Surah Al-Ma'un, it doesn't seem to be mentioned that many incidents. And by the way, just for your own knowledge, some surahs, okay, there are in fact many surahs and many verses, we don't necessarily know an exact reason for why they got revealed. Okay, so not every single ayah or surah in the Quran we know exactly like, oh, this thing happened, this event happened, and this is why this verse or surah was revealed. In some cases, it's just a general, a general revelation with a certain message. So Surah Al-Ma'un, we do have a couple of narrations pertaining the reason of revelation. We are told in one narration that one of the wealthy leaders of Quraysh, and the scholars get into a little bit of a difference of who are these leaders or who is this leader. Some say it's Abu Sufyan, some say it is Al-As bin Wa'il, and others as well. So we don't care really about the name, but one of the wealthy leaders of Quraysh refused to give money or any food when a needy orphan came to him. It is mentioned that the orphan came and he asked him for money and he pushed him away. In another version, it mentions that this wealthy leader, he used to slaughter a camel every single week, and he would, so he had a lot of meat. And one time an orphan came and asked him for a little bit of meat. He's a needy orphan. And so the man pushed him away with a stick and he told him to get away. And so this is why أَرَأَيْتَ الَّذِي يُكَذِّبُ بِالدِّينِ was revealed. Now, also scholars of tafsir get into a little bit of difference where all of the verses revealed in Mecca or all of them were revealed in Medina or mix and match. And so the most correct opinion, Allahu A'lam, is that the majority of it was revealed in Mecca, but there were some verses that were revealed in Medina. Specifically, the final few verses, فَوَيْلٌ لِلْمُصَلِّينَ الَّذِينَ هُمْ عَنْ صَلَاتِهِمْ سَاهُونَ. And this was more towards the hypocrites, because the hypocrites, they would pray the prayer only to show off. So whenever they would see the Muslims gather together to offer the prayer, they would go and stand with them for prayer, so that they can say, oh, look at us, we joined you guys for the prayer. But if they don't see a gathering, or if they find an opportunity, usually this was in Fajr and in Isha when it was really dark, nobody can tell who's the person next to him is. Whenever they could find an opportunity to escape the prayer, they would escape the prayer. They would neglect it, they would leave it, and they would not perform that prayer. And so the second half, you can say, of Surah Al-Ma'un was revealed. And again, this is just, some of the narrations that are mentioned, Allahu Alam, if this is the actual reason of what, took place. But either way, this is just kind of information that's, good information to be shared with you guys. So let's dive into the surah, inshallah. We won't take too long on Surah Al-Ma'un. Allah Azza wa Jal begins and he says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, أَرَأَيْتَ الَّذِي يُكَذِّبُ بِالدِّينِ. أَرَأَيْتَ الَّذِي يُكَذِّبُ بِالدِّينِ. أَرَأَيْتَ is like a question, okay? Have you seen, like it's a word that is usually used in the structure of a question. Like you tell your friend, oh, have you seen this movie? Have you seen this person doing this, this, and that, right? So in the Arabic, we would say, أَرَأَيْتَ. Okay? So have you seen? أَرَأَيْتَ الَّذِي. الَّذِي means the one who. Okay? أَرَأَيْتَ الَّذِي. Have you seen the one who does what? يُكَذِّبُ بِالدِّينِ. يُكَذِّب, it can have, depending on the context, it can have different meanings. Because كذب or كذب or يكذب technically means to lie. Okay? But depending also on the context, it can be used as denying. Okay? So in this context, have you seen the one who denies, who rejects? Okay? So he basically pretends it doesn't, he goes against it. أَرَأَيْتَ الَّذِي يُكَذِّبُ بِالدِّينِ. So have you seen the one who rejects the judgment? And ad-deen, we mentioned this word before several times. We've already seen it before. We explained way back that the word ad-deen, it can have also different meanings based on the context. So for example, we saw, if we go back a couple of weeks, in Surah Al-Kafirun, لَكُمْ دِينُكُمْ وَلِيَ دِينِ. You have my religion and I have my religion. So the word deen here is used as religion. But we saw, for example, in Surah Al-Fatiha, Maliki Yawmiddin, the master of the day of judgment. Yawmiddin. So ad-deen again used for judge could mean religion or it could mean judgment. In this context, it means reckoning, the judgment, the hisab. Okay? So have you seen the one who denies the day of judgment, or that there is anything called the reckoning? Or have you seen the one who denies that one day they will stand in front of Allah and get questioned about their deeds? And of course, this surah is revealed down to the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, addressing the kuffar, or the one who was, the reason behind the revelation of this surah. So have you seen this person who denies the judgment? He denies that there is something called an akhirah. He denies that there is good deeds and bad deeds. He denies and he refuses to obey Allah Azza wa Jal. أَرَأَيْتَ الَّذِي يُكَذِّبُ بِالدِّينِ فَذَلِكَ الَّذِي يَدُعُّ الْيَتِيمِ. Then, ذَلِكَ, that, so basically connected to the first ayah. Then that person who denies the judgment is the one who, الذي, he is the one who يَدُعُّ الْيَتِيمِ. يَدُعُّ is translated here as turns away, but in the Arabic dictionary definition of يَدُعُّ, it can also mean to push away something violently. Okay? To push away something very, very violently and forcefully and aggressively. And Allah Azza wa Jalla uses this verb elsewhere also in the Quran. Allah Azza wa Jalla, He says in Surah At-Tur, يَوْمَ يُدَعُّونَ إِلَى نَارِ جَهَنَّمَ دَعًّا. That on that day, they shall be, and He uses this word, يُدَعُّون, for the same word as يَدُعُّ. They will be pushed very violently into Jahannam. That's in Surah At-Tur. Here, then that is the one who pushes violently and aggressively al-yatim, the orphan. So he is the one who pushes the orphan. He drives away the orphan. He pushes them away violently. He does not have any pity on them. He does not even give them anything. And he doesn't even have a concept of, there is something called the rights of an orphan, right? And he doesn't care about that. He only does whatever is on his mind. فَذَلِكَ الَّذِي يَدُعُّ الْيَتِيمِ وَلَا يَحُضُّ عَلَى طَعَامِ الْمِسْكِينِ. And he does not. وَلَا, so he does two things. فَذَلِكَ الَّذِي يَدُعُّ, he pushes away the orphans. وَلَا يَحُضُّ, وَلَا, and he does not. يَحُضُّ is the verb of feeling the urge to do something or to encourage. Okay? So he does not encourage, or he does not urge. He doesn't urge what? عَلَى طَعَامِ الْمِسْكِينِ. And he does not encourage or feel the need to feed al-miskin, the poor person. And al-miskin here, now al-miskin, it's well known that a miskin is someone who is very poor. But there is actually a little bit of difference between the word, because in the Quran actually uses both words. And even in the Arabic language, there is the person who is the miskin, the poor person. So وَلَا يَحُضُّ عَلَى طَعَامِ الْمِسْكِينِ, so he does not feel the need to go and take care of al-miskin, the poor person. So this person, the one who denies the judgment and the one who pushes away the orphan, is also someone who is so stingy, even though he's wealthy. He has a lot of money, he has a lot of wealth, but he is so stingy, he does not want to feed any orphans, he does not want to have anything to do with the orphans, and he instructs others also to go ahead and to do so. وَلَا يَحُضُّ عَلَى طَعَامِ الْمِسْكِينِ فَوَيْلٌ لِلْمُصَلِّينَ. Now, subhanAllah, and whenever it comes to recitation of the Quran, you should never stop here. Like, you should never read it, you should not usually tend to read it as فَوَيْلٌ لِلْمُصَلِّينَ, pause, الَّذِينَ هُمْ عَنْ صَلَاتِهِمْ سَاهُونَ. Now, what's the reason behind this? Very simple. فَوَيْلٌ لِلْمُصَلِّينَ. What does it mean? فَوَيْلٌ. Waylun means destruction or woe, or in one hadith it even mentions, it mentions a valley in Jahannam, like something very bad, something destruction, something negative. So that wail is being said here للمصلين, to those who pray. La ilaha illallah. طيب, how does that make sense? We're all praying, we just pray the Asr together. Why is it wailun للمصلين? So this is why you shouldn't stop here. Because if you just stop here and you say فَوَيْلٌ لِلْمُصَلِّينَ and you stop, now this, like someone who's listening to you, but like, what the heck? Why are the people praying being destroyed? So it makes more sense. Usually the Qur'an, what they do is they connect it with the next ayah because it gives it more context. So the correct way to actually recite them is to combine these two ayahs together and to say فَوَيْلٌ لِلْمُصَلِّينَ الَّذِينَ هُمْ عَنْ صَلَاتِهِمْ سَاهُونَ. Okay? You guys understand what I'm saying here? You basically recite the two verses together. And so, woe to the prayer, to those who pray that do something. So they did something to earn the destruction. What is it? الَّذِينَ هُمْ عَنْ صَلَاتِهِمْ سَاهُونَ. الَّذِينَ, they are those who, hum, عَنْ صَلَاتِهِمْ, they are, with their prayers, they are sahun, neglectful. And this is actually very important to understand. The destruction here is being promised to people. Number one, this is not even talking about people who don't pray. SubhanAllah. So this gives you the amount of danger. Like if this is the punishment that is promised for a person who prays, but he's neglectful, what do you think about the person who doesn't even pray? What do you think about the person who completely neglects his prayers? He doesn't even put any effort, whether he's with people, whether he's in the masjid, whether outside them, he does not care whatsoever about the salah. Subhanallah. So this in itself, this one verse gives you the severity of this is a situation when it comes to leaving the salah. فَوَيْلُ لِلْمُصَلِّينَ الَّذِينَ هُمْ عَنْ صَلَاتِهِمْ سَاهُونَ. So what does it mean, sahun here? Well, it can mean, the proper meaning here means heedless about their prayer. What does it mean, heedless about prayer? It means like it's not really on their mind. It's the last thing that they have on their mind. And once they finish everything, oh, okay, the next prayer is going to be in 2 more minutes. Okay, let me just quickly do a world record, Salat al-Asr, pray 4 rak'ahs in less than 2 minutes, just so I can just quickly get it out of the way because it's almost out of time. This is called heedlessness. This is called sahun. These are who the sahun are. If it's completely not on their mind, they tend to miss it very frequently because they don't even care about it. And even when they remember that they missed it, they're like, well, okay, I guess I can make it up later at the end of the day. Like it's not even a big deal for them. Okay? Or like when they get up to pray, they're so like the hypocrites, as Allah Azza wa Jal describes them in the Quran. When they get up to pray, even though they prayed, but Allah Azza wa Jal describes the hypocrites in the Quran. He says, when they get up to pray, they get up lazily. They don't want to pray. And if they pray, they do it to show off in front of people. They don't care. They just want to quickly do a quick prayer at the end. And they probably don't even remember Allah Azza wa Jal. In the prayer, they're just doing yoga. A quick yoga exercise, a quick workout. Yalla, bow. Okay, let me go down. Let me go back, stand back up. Move a little bit my muscles, stretch a little bit. And then yalla, salam alaikum, salam alaikum. That's their salah. No focus whatsoever, no connection with Allah Azza wa Jal, no khushu', no dhikr or remembrance of Allah Azza wa Jal. So this is the warning that is given. The warning is given to the musallin, to those who pray, but not the average prayer, the person who prays. The average person who prays and he gives the salah its proper focus and its proper rights, inshallah their salah is accepted and inshallah there's nothing for them to worry about. But for those who pray but they are constantly heedless about their salah, they should be worried about this. الَّذِينَ هُمْ عَنْ صَلَاتِهِمْ سَاهُونَ. And of course this was the quality of the hypocrites. This is exactly what the hypocrites would do. And in one hadith, there's Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he says it very clearly. And he says about the people who pray Salatul Asr very late. Like, alhamdulillah, now you prayed Salatul Asr, sun is out, light is out, everything is clear. But there are some people, and unfortunately, some of us, we also fall victim into this. We delay Salatul Asr into the last 5 minutes, where but the sun is basically almost set, and it's It's almost dark outside. And then like, oh, I need to pray Asr. The Rasul ﷺ says about these people, he says, that is the prayer of the hypocrites. تِلْكَ صَلَاةُ الْمُنَافِقِ. This is dangerous. It's not saying that the one who does this is necessarily a hypocrite, but it's telling you that's what the hypocrites do. They just do a quick 4 rak'ahs and they do not remember Allah Azza wa Jal in them at all. الَّذِينَ هُمْ يُرَاءُونَ. There are also those who yura'un, those who show off. And we've previously mentioned many times, when we were talking about intentions and the acceptance of good deeds, the dangers of showing off. But once again, it comes here in the surah to reinstate how serious this issue is. When we pray, or when you do any good deed, when you give donations, when you are kind to someone else, keep in mind, you are not doing this so that other people can compliment you. You're not coming to the masjid so I can look at you and be like, oh, mashallah, this guy comes to my lectures every week. He's such a good kid. He's always focused. That's not what you're here for. Who cares if I praise you or not? Who cares if other people look at you or not? You're not praying in the masjid so that people can look at you and say about you that this person, mashallah, he's always coming to the masjid, mashallah, he's so much khushu' in his salah. You're not giving that sadaqah, you're not putting that $5 in the donation box so that they say, mashallah, she's only 8 years old, but mashallah, she's putting $5 in the donation machine, mashallah, she's so generous, mashallah. That's not, you're doing everything to please Allah Azza wa Jal. You're not doing it to show off. And once you do it to show off, then now you have associated something with your intention. And Allah Azza wa Jal does not accept such a deed that has mixed intentions, that you're doing it 90% of Allah to Allah and 10% so you can make the people around you happy. This is a problem now. And that deed does not get accepted. الَّذِينَ هُمْ يُرَاءُونَ وَيَمْنَعُونَ الْمَاعُونَ. وَيَمْنَعُونَ, يَمْنَعْ means to prevent something. Okay? Like if you were, let's say you wanted to leave the hall right now, and I saw you walking to leave the hall, and I told you, hey, you're not allowed to leave. Come sit back down. I just did to you the action of يَمْنَعُونَ, of يَمْنَعْ. I prevented you. I stopped you from doing something. Okay? So وَيَمْنَعُونَ, and they prevent al-ma'un. The name of the surah is dropped over here. What does al-ma'un actually mean? It's like the simplest, tiniest kind of help that you can give someone. This is what we call al-ma'un. Like something that is so normal and so common that if someone usually asks you like, oh, can you give me this thing? Usually it's something so trivial and simple that you're like, okay, khalas. Like for example, you're at school and you have 20 pencils with you. And who cares, it's a pencil. And your friend comes to you and he's like, yo bro, can I please borrow a pencil from you? Nobody really cares, like, oh, this is my pencil. I bought it with my money. Well, too bad, bro, you don't got your pencil. Well, figure yourself out, man. I'm not going to give you my pencil. Nobody does that, okay? If you do, then there's a problem, okay? Like, it's just a pencil, bro. It's not a big deal. It's something an eraser, okay? Something very trivial. Nobody really thinks like, oh, this is so precious and it's so expensive that, oh, if I give it away, I'm going to be worried, is he going to give it back or not? Like it's a pencil, and ideally he should give it back, but if he doesn't give it back, okay, it's not the end of the world, okay, whatever, like this, I have a million pencils back home, right? But this person that the surah is talking about is so stingy that وَيَمْنَعُونَ الْمَاعُونَ, that they would even withhold the slightest bit of help. The most trivial kind of thing that you can offer someone else, they would actually hold that back off. وَيَمْنَعُونَ الْمَاعُونَ. Like, as I mentioned, like a pencil or like a cup or something like this. It's something so simple and so trivial that, subhanAllah, like, how can someone be so stingy to do this? But subhanAllah, these people exist. There are people in today's world that they are so wealthy, yet so stingy. Like someone might, sometimes we have this question that arises every now and then, right? Like, if there are people who are billionaires and trillionaires, they have, like, can you imagine $1 billion? Like what? Like imagine today, if you had $1 billion right now, I hand you within your hand a whole bag. It has $1 billion in it. Imagine what you would do with it. Okay, you want to buy a house, you want to buy a plane, you want to buy 10 cars, you want to buy a boat, you want to buy this, and this, and that. Like, you'll buy everything in the world, and you'll still have like 900 million, billion, or like, I don't know, you'll have a ton of money left, right? Like, you can buy everything, and you have so much left over. So someone might think this, and they're like, okay, well, since there's so many billionaires and trillionaires in this world, how come there are so many people starving? How come there are so many people struggling? How come there are still people who are homeless? How come we can be living in a city where billionaires are living, and the billionaire outside in the street, there are people who are sleeping on the street, they're homeless. They don't have anything to eat, they don't have a shelter where they can live, a roof to live under. SubhanAllah. Again, I'm not generalizing for all billionaires or all millionaires or anything like this, but SubhanAllah, it tends to be equality that is found in the wealthy people. That وَيَمْنَعُونَ الْمَاعُونَ. Because of the wealth and the power and the status that they have acquired, they have built this idea that this is all mine. Nobody has the right. Nobody has the right to touch any of this stuff. It's all mine. And when you tell them give charity or give a little bit or help that person, help this person, no. They should go work. They should go work and hard for themselves. I built myself up, and they should also go and do that. So the lesson from the surah is very straightforward. أَرَأَيْتَ الَّذِي يُكَذِّبُ بِالدِّينِ. Have you seen the one who denies the judgment? The one who pushes away the orphan? The one who does not encourage feeding the orphans, right? The concept of prayer, the concept of showing off, and preventing even al-ma'un. So many lessons can be extracted. Like, you probably don't even need me to go and explain this to you after you guys see the translations of these verses. But nonetheless, some of the lessons that we learn. First of all, Surah Al-Ma'un is coming to you different from the surahs that we have seen so far. Because Al-Ma'un is giving you a checklist. You guys know what is a checklist? You know that list, and it has a checkbox next to each point, and then you check it off if you have it. This is what Surah Al-Ma'un is. It's a checklist to see if you're in danger or not. The more items that you check in the surah, the more in danger you are. Because it's telling you, first of all, it's asking you, are you someone who denies the judgment? Hopefully not. Are you someone who pushes away the orphan? Hopefully not. Well, and it's again easy for you to say yes. But right now, if you were given the opportunity to donate, someone comes you, let's say at Maghrib prayer, after the lecture is done, after Maghrib Salah, an Islamic organization comes here to the Masjid and says, guys, we're an Islamic organization, we do a lot of fundraising, we help a lot of orphans, we help this. Would you be of the people who are willing to go and help when you have the opportunity? So you see today, yadur yatim, pushing away the orphans, doesn't necessarily mean that a yatim, an orphan, will physically knock at your door and then you're going to push them away and he's going to fall from the stairs or something like that. Okay? Today that doesn't happen, right? An orphan doesn't just come and randomly knock on your door. An orphan is usually found in an orphanage. Okay? And nowadays, for the most part in our cities here, you're not going to find an orphan knocking on your door. But the opportunity will come to you in a different shape and form. It's not going to be the orphan, but maybe you'll see an opportunity in front of you. A donation opportunity to give to an orphanage or to a certain charity where you can sponsor an orphan or something. And in that moment in time, you have money that you can give. And you know that if you give away that money, you're still good. You have a lot of money left over. You can do. So in that point in time, ask yourself, will I be among those who pushes away the orphan, or will I be among the people who gives? That's where you need to ask yourself. Also, the dangers of being heedless about the salah. So again, we kind of already touched on this already. The warning here is given to those who are praying. So first of all, if you are not someone who is praying your 5 daily prayers, what are you waiting for? Like what bigger warning are you waiting for to tell you go and pray your prayers? When you hear that there is an entire section in Jahannam reserved for people that don't miss their prayer, but they are very heedless about it and they neglect it, then what do you think is the case for someone who does not care about their prayer? And someone who's constantly missing their prayer. This should be a wake-up call for me and you. Don't miss your 5 daily prayers. There is no excuse. I don't care if you have school. I don't care if you have swimming class. I don't care if you have an activity somewhere. Figure something out. Whether you're on an airplane, whether you are anywhere, you have no excuse to be missing your 5 daily salah. So you need to plan your day out and figure out how am I going to pray my 5 daily salat. And even if you're someone who's already praying your 5 daily salat, then this is also a warning for you. How important? Where does it lie in the priority? Are you praying the salah as soon as the adhan enters? Are you praying your salah in the masjid for the boys? Or are you waiting until the very end? You look at the time, you're like, actually, Asr time just entered. There's still another hour and a half until Maghrib. So you know what? I think I'll play a round of video games first. Then I'll watch a couple of YouTube videos. Then I'm going to eat, and then I'm going to shower, and then I'm going to do this and that. And then you look at the time. Oh, there's 3 more minutes left. Okay, I guess let me just, I guess let me just go and quickly pray. If this is the mindset that we are having, then this person is also in danger according to this surah. Also, الذين هم يراؤون, the dangers of showing off. We don't have to mention it again. Showing off, doing something for the sake of pleasing someone else other than Allah Azza wa Jal will nullify that deed, and it will not count, and it will be said to that person on the day of judgment, you already got your reward. You did that deed, you did that salah, you performed that salah so that people were happy with you. And the people were happy with you. So khalas, you got your reward. So you got no more reward for your salah. So this is dangerous. Okay, imagine you're praying, you're fasting, you're giving sadaqah, all for and then imagine all of this not counting at all. So beware of showing off. وَيَمْنَعُونَ الْمَاعُونَ is a reminder for us, akhi. Remember, nothing that you own is yours. Whatever you're enjoying, whether you're coming from a wealthy family, or whether you own things that other people don't, always remember that this is a blessing from Allah Azza wa Jal to you. It's not something that you earned because you were special, or because you're so intelligent and other people are not, or because you are something else and other people are not. No, you're an average human being. But Allah Azza wa Jal wrote that rizq for you. And that rizq is not necessarily yours to own. Your money that you own is not your money. It's the money that Allah gave to you and He trusted you with. But it's not yours. Don't ever think it's yours. So just like Allah Azza wa Jalla blessed you with wealth, then you also be a source of blessing to other people. When someone asks for something, and I'll just conclude with this. When it comes to the concept of someone asking us something, a lot of us, we get into this habit of raising a bunch of questions. Who is this person who's asking? Why is he asking me? Doesn't he have enough money to go and cover for himself? Why is he asking me for help? What is his background? What organization is he coming from? We start having a whole bunch of questions as if we're doing like a police check for that person. We're doing a whole background check, and look, if something feels suspicious, I'm not going to give that person. Why don't we restructure and change the way that we think? And as soon as someone asks you something, don't even think, oh, but this person is wealthy, this person is not poor. Just think, Allah has given me an opportunity to give. And Allah is watching me right now. So let me give. I don't care. This person, I might be giving him money and he's rich. And this guy might think like, I just played him and I scammed him. No, you did not scam me. I got my hasanat. My intention was to give because someone asked me for help and I gave him the help that he needed. Whether he actually needs the help or not, that's between him and Allah. So on the day of judgment, this person, if he's asking for help and he's taking money from that person, taking stuff from that person, taking from here and there, and he doesn't actually need that help, Allah will judge him. But as for you, you can tell Allah that, oh Allah, look, that person asked me, I didn't even ask him anything. He simply asked me for help, and without questioning, I gave him. Not for him, but to please you, Ya Allah. So we need to change the way that we think. Anytime someone asks you for help, asks you to lend asks to lend something from you, or asks you to lend them something. There you go. Or asks you for help in any matter, and you know that you have the ability to help, then hold yourself back from asking questions. Just give it. Just give it and say, Ya Allah, I'm doing this for you. And it will change your life. It will change the way that you look at everything in your life. Anyways, Are there any questions about this? Yes.
What about if the world just make them be responsible, take care of themselves, because we know they can make some effort.
And now, absolutely. Okay, absolutely. But the point is, don't just leave them. Okay, so maybe you can help them not in the way that they're asking you to help them. Like the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he did with one man. Okay, the man came to the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam and he said, "I need money." And so the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he went and he didn't give him money. He gave him wood. He told him, "Go and sell that wood." And he taught him, "Go chop wood, go and collect wood, go and earn money for yourself." So he didn't push him away and be like, "Oh, well, can't you go and get a job, bro? Oh, get out of here." And he didn't just give him some money for once and twice and 5 and 10 times, every single time. Again, a Muslim is not stung from the same hole twice. We learned that last week. But at the same time, you don't just push away that person. That person came and asked you for help. And you have the ability to help in one form or another. Give them that help without asking too many questions. Okay? Any other questions? Okay. The hadith which I shared with you last week عن أبي رقية تميم ابن أوس الداري رضي الله عنه أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال الدين النصيحة. This hadith is subhanAllah one of the most important hadith. And some of the scholars, they say that it amounts to a quarter of the teachings of Islam. Just this one hadith. And it's about the concise speech, and it shows the concise speech of the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It's a very short hadith, straight to the point, but it's also very eloquent and rich in meaning. Ad-Dinu Naseehah. He's saying the religion is advice. And this word advice here, I don't really like it. And Naseehah is more than just advice. And we'll talk about it in a second. So the Sahaba, they responded and they said, Liman, to whom? Advice to whom? Or a Naseehah to whom? So the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he responded and he says, لله ولكتابه ولرسوله ولأئمة المسلمين وعامتهم. To Allah and to the Book of Allah and to the Messenger of Allah and to the leaders of the Muslims and to the average Muslims as well. Okay, so very short, simple, concise hadith, straight to the point. Now, first and foremost, in order for us to understand what is this hadith actually talk about, first of all, what exactly is Naseehah? And you can see here why it's problematic to simply translate it to advice. How astaghfirullah, am I supposed to give advice to Allah? Astaghfirullah, this is not how we give advice to the Rasul, give advice to the Quran. The Quran is what advises me. I don't advise the Quran. So what does a Naseehah actually mean? A Naseehah is to seek, okay, to look for any action or any words that is beneficial to the other person or to the other side, okay, to someone else, okay, and to be sincere while you are delivering those words or actions, okay. So basically, to sum it up, you're looking out for you're looking for the best in something for someone else. What does this mean? I'll explain it. It'll make sense as I explain the hadith, inshallah. So the Rasul says that religion is Naseehah. This Naseehah, this is what you can sum up Islam in one word, Naseehah. So what does it mean to give Naseehah to Allah? To do Naseehah to Allah? Naseehah is done to Allah by doing things which are beneficial for myself for the sake of Allah. So it means to do things, for example, sincerely. When you are praying, when you are doing your good deeds, when you are learning, when you are helping your parents, when you are doing anything that counts as a good deed, you have a sincere intention that I am doing this for the sake of Allah. By genuinely showing love to Allah Azza wa Jal in your prayer, when you are reciting, for example, the verses of the Quran, you're reflecting over, you're aware that you are standing in front of Allah, and you have a love for Allah in your heart, and you are honoring Allah. You do adhkar. Whenever you hear someone making fun of Islam or Allah, you get angry for the sake of Allah. And when you find someone else who loves Allah, then all of a sudden you love that person Why? Because they love Allah too. This is what it means to say Naseehah lillah. Okay? This is Naseehah towards Allah. Also having hope and having fear in Allah. So being hopeful, and we explained this in a previous concept before, having hope in Allah such that you don't find yourself depressed and miserable. Like let's say you fall into a sin, you don't khalas give up and say, oh, there's no more hope for me. There's no way that Allah is going to forgive someone like me. So part of Nasiha is to have hope in Allah, but it is also balanced with fear of Allah, such that you don't just think that, oh, whatever I do, Allah is going to forgive me. Whatever I do, if I fall into halal, if I fall into haram, if I do something wrong, if I disobey my parents, and then just say, astaghfirullah, well, Allah is just going to forgive me like that. Well, how do you know? You should have some fear of Allah Azza wa Jal, have some fear that Allah will not bring down a punishment. So there should be hope and fear in Allah. To affirm the names and the attributes of Allah. We mentioned Allah Azza wa Jal, we know of 99 names of Allah, right? To affirm them and to acknowledge them, and the same thing with the sifat and the attributes of Allah Azza wa Jal, to accept them and affirm them in a way which is appropriate to Allah Azza wa Jal, not to the way that I want my brain to accept it, right? And also, of course, comes with following His commands and avoiding His prohibitions. Okay, so basically, you're again going back to the definition. Any kind of action or any kind of speech pleasing to Allah Azza wa Jal, and you are doing it sincerely for Allah, is called Naseehah to Allah. This is Naseehah to Allah. طيب. Then it also says لِكِتَابِهِ, also to the book of Allah. So how can I do Naseehah to the book of Allah? Same exact thing, but now you're doing it towards the book of Allah. So it means first of all to believe in it, to believe in the Quran the way you're expected to believe in the Quran, right? That it is the word of Allah Azza wa Jal, that it is the preserved word of Allah, that it is the true word of Allah, and that you understand that this is not just a bunch of random words, that rather when you recite it, you do it with respect, you do it with the proper way of reciting by going to learn how to recite with tajweed. So that, why do you think the imams and the scholars and the qurra, why is it that they recite the Quran in the way that they recite? They elongate, for example, the mads, or they do the ghunnas, and why does your tajweed teacher tell you, oh, you mispronounced this one letter, do it again? And you're like, but I did it right. And he tells you, no, say it again. You didn't do it right. It's not to make your life miserable. It's so that you are giving the haqq of the Quran. It's so that you are reciting it and honoring it the way that it should be honored. So believing obviously in its teachings as well, the teachings of the Quran. When we read about the Prophet stories, we believe in everything the Quran is telling us. When the Quran tells us a little bit about the Christians and the Jewish people and their religion, we believe in whatever the Quran is telling us about them. When it comes to anything that the Quran is telling me, I believe in it. And if something does not make sense to me, I still believe in it. And this is important because we're living, unfortunately, at a time where a lot of us, we are being taught at school from a younger age that if there's something that you don't understand, you always have to question it. And I'm not saying that don't go and ask questions to understand your deen, but I'm saying what the issue today happens is people say, I'm not gonna believe until I am convinced. And this is dangerous. So whatever the Quran says, I believe in it, whether my mind understands it, whether my mind likes it or it doesn't, that does not matter to me. Right now, it matters that you first of all believe in it. Then you can go ahead and ask questions to see if you can make sense of whatever you're reading. And even if you end up not understanding what you're reading, just say to yourself, I'm sure there is a wisdom. It's my mind that is limited. It's my mind that's failing to understand, but surely there is something. There's some kind of meaning that I am failing to understand. So whatever is in the Quran is correct, and that comes as part of the belief and doing Naseehah towards the Quran. Of the ways of applying Naseehah to the Quran is by learning the Quran. And by learning the Quran, it means to learn how to read it. It means to learn how to recite it with the proper tajweed. It means to go and learn, of course, the meanings and the tafsir of the Quran, the rulings of the Quran, but not just leave it there, to also go and teach it. Go and teach the Quran. And subhanAllah, many people, they underestimate this point. Like many of you guys here, everybody here, all of you here, mashallah, you're all young. And most of you guys have, or maybe are attending or have attended Quran schools in the past. And mashallah, like you have something memorized in the Quran. It could only be a few surahs, okay? And maybe you've learned how to read the Quran. Maybe you have a juz' from the Quran memorized. You have something, you have some knowledge that Allah has given you about the Quran. It may not be much, but it's still knowledge nonetheless. Why don't you take that knowledge and go and deliver it to someone else who does not have it? Why is it that we always have this mindset that not my problem, right? I am learning, but I guess okay. What are you doing with these things with this information that you're learning? Keep in mind, knowledge is also of the things that Allah will question you on in the day of judgment. So, like, imagine, for example, a scholar. He goes for many years in university. He learns all of the books. He learns all of the hadiths. He learns everything. He learns all the tafsir, and then he keeps it for himself. And he does not teach anyone else, and he does not benefit anyone else. This knowledge, that even though he has gained the best of knowledge, the knowledge of the Quran, this knowledge will be against him on the day of the judgment. It will not benefit him. Why? Because he earned it and he didn't do anything with it. So the knowledge of the Quran is among the best of knowledges that a person can get. Okay? So if you know yourself that I am fluent, Allah has given me knowledge in something, and I know I'm fluent in it, I know that I can teach it correctly, why don't you go ahead and do it? You don't need to be an old person to go and start teaching something that you have learned about Islam or about the Quran. Also, of the ways of doing Naseehah to the Quran, defending it from any kind of distortions and any kind of false accusations. We're living in a time, of course, of Islamophobia, where many people accuse Islam of being certain things, and they accuse the Quran of being a barbaric book that's encouraging people to kill, and it's encouraging people to be evil and whatnot. So we have a duty as Muslims to go and defend the book of Allah, to defend the Quran, and tell the people, no, this is not my Quran. My Quran, is teaching me the best of manners. But my Quran is teaching me the best of knowledge. It is telling me to show them the verses where it says, to be good towards other people, regardless if they're Muslims or non-Muslims and whatnot, and coexist with them. It's not all about killing one another. And when it comes to the verses that, they can be taken out of context, then again, it's up to us to get the knowledge such that we can defend the Quran when these accusations are being made against our Quran. So I can go on and on, but you guys get the point. Going back to the definition of Naseehah, any action or any speech which is used for the benefit of the Quran, sincerely for the sake of Allah, is Naseehah towards Quran. So religion is Naseehah to Allah, it is Naseehah to the book of Allah, it is also Naseehah to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, to the messenger of Allah. Same kind of logic. How can I do Naseehah to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam? By the actions and speech and the words which are beneficial, or they give rightful to the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, being sincere towards Allah azza wa jalla. So believing in the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and in whatever that means, right? That he is the last, like for example, to believe that he is the last messenger and there is no more messenger after him. Believing in the Sunnah and the teachings of the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Believing that the Quran was revealed upon him, and believing that also these ahadith that he is saying, he's not saying it out of his own head, rather it is hikmah and wisdom from Allah Azza wa Jal that is being taught to the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It also means to respect him and to honor him, but also without exaggerating his status, right? So sometimes people, and this is of course an issue, they exaggerate their love for the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam to the point where they now elevate him to some divine being, that he's no longer a human being, that he is now above being a human being, that he is now some say that, oh, he's made out of light, or that he is to this day and time he is still watching over us and he's controlling the matters of this universe and whatnot. There's many people with corrupt beliefs about the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But we need to understand, as part of giving nasiha, and as in fact as part of believing in the Rasul and believing in the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, is to honor him, to honor him and respect him in a befitting way for him. He is the best human being. He is my role model, but he is a human being, nothing more, nothing less. And also defending the sunnah from any kind of accusations. So, of course, following the sunnah, number one, when we learn something is sunnah, we follow it for the sake of pleasing Allah Azza wa Jal and for the sake of following the sunnah of the Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And whenever, again, we know, again, similar to how we mentioned about the Quran, we're living in a day and an age where Islamophobia is spread and people are saying things about the Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam which are false. They call him someone who is bloodthirsty. He likes to kill people. They call him a womanizer. Look how many women he married. He's a womanizer. Astaghfirullah. And they call him names and they draw pictures of him and things like this. It's my job and your job to go and stand up and defend the Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and say, no, my Rasul was not like this. And there's a reason for everything. The wars that he did, there's a reason behind the war. He did not just simply randomly go ahead and kill people. There's a context behind everything. So, and with that, on that point, it comes also with learning about the Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, learning about his sunnah, learning about his seerah, learning about his personality and his characteristics and whatnot. And also having a sincere love towards him. A sincere love towards him, that is even more than your love towards yourself or your love towards your parents. And subhanAllah, this is something that we really need. I need to stop and reflect upon. Can I say truly that I myself, right now, I'm asking myself, can I really truly say that I love the Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam more than I love my mom and dad, more than I love my wife, more than I love my family, more than I love myself? Subhanallah. Can I truly say that? And subhanAllah, there's a hadith that says, none of you shall truly believe until I am more beloved to you than yourselves and your families and the entire mankind. This is the love that we're expected to have to the Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. This is part of giving Naseehah and having Naseehah towards the Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And also it comes to لِأَئِمَّةِ الْمُسْلِمِينَ, to the Muslim leaders. Naseehah is done towards Muslim leaders. Now, what exactly does it mean, Muslim leaders? Muslim leaders can mean anyone who is holding a position of authority. Okay, so a Muslim leader doesn't necessarily only have to be a Muslim king or a Muslim president or things like this, but it could be, for example, the Imam of a Masjid. Okay, the Imam of a Masjid, we call him Imam because he is the leader of the Masjid, right? He's the one who typically leads the salawat and he leads the halaqat. A community leader, maybe they're not the Imam of a Masjid, but they're a known figure in the community. They organize programs, they lead people, people consult them and go back to them for advice and guidance and whatnot, right? So any person who is a figure of authority within a Muslim community or whatever kind of community, this is what we call a'immatul muslimin, a Muslim leader. So Naseehah should be done towards these Muslim leaders as well. Now, what does it mean to do Naseehah to the Muslim leaders? Go back to the definition of Naseehah. Actions/words that will lead to the benefit of these Muslim leaders sincerely for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal. How so? First of all, because they are figures of authority, we should obey the figures of authority. Okay? Whenever someone is in charge of something, we should obey the person's authority as long as what they are telling us does not go against the commands of Allah. Okay? So whether that is, I'm speaking, for example, about your parents. You're expected to listen to your parents. They are your household leaders. So you're expected to listen to them. You're expected to obey them, whether you like it or you don't. Unless they are commanding you to do something which is sinful, only in that case you should not obey them. But in every other case, whether you like it or you don't, whether you're playing a video game or you're not, whether you're doing something else, you're expected to go and obey them. This goes to the parents, it goes to the imams, it goes to the community leaders and all whatnot. Cooperating with them for the wellness of others. Okay, so many times we see that certain leaders, they're hosting certain programs or certain fundraisers or certain things, which is very difficult for one person to do. And so, as average Muslims, as people, maybe you look up to these leaders or someone you want to be a future leader, then the step that you need to do is to actually go and help them. Lend them a hand, see what they need, see how you can help them, see how you can cooperate with them. And again, you're doing it sincerely for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal, so that you can benefit the larger community. This is part of doing Naseehah. Also, the part of doing nasiha is actually giving advice. Giving advice if you genuinely think that you're in a position to give advice and that this person will benefit from your advice, then you should be going ahead and you should be giving advice. Okay, and this, by the way, even applies for me as well. Like if someone wants to go ahead and to yani give advice for me, subhanallah, we're human beings at the end of the day. I'm a human being at the end of the day. I sometimes make mistakes. I might sometimes say something which is incorrect, or or whatever. So subhanallah, is there something going on, or طب okay, خير إن شاء الله. طب we'll pause for a second إن شاء الله. Yeah, إن شاء الله. Boys and girls, just please be quiet while they do their thing, inshallah. Sorry? Allah, okay. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Okay, boys and girls, let's just jump back into it, inshallah. Let's continue from where we had left off. We were talking about the hadith of Ad-Din al-Nasiha, and then we were talking about, we were finishing it up, inshallah. And Nasiha towards the Muslim leaders. We mentioned already several things. We mentioned several, listening to them. We said obeying them as long as they don't tell us to do something against Islam. We mentioned about cooperating with them. We mentioned about advising them, offering dua for them. And the last point over here, look, yani we're all human beings here, okay? I am a human being, and Scholar is a human being, and everybody's a human being. And I make mistakes, and we all make mistakes. And unfortunately today, well, not unfortunately, but yani, it's happening today with the evolution of technology. And yani, even this lecture right now is being recorded, subhanAllah. And what's happening, unfortunately, nowadays is like a certain sheikh, imam, like anywhere in the world, they would be giving their lecture or their khutbah or something, and then it's being live recorded or something, and then it gets uploaded on YouTube. And what some people they start doing is like they listen to it, and then they hear the sheikh or the imam say one wrong sentence, and then they clip it. They're like, oh, look what the sheikh says. He said blah 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 blah. He's such a horrible sheikh. He's an uneducated sheikh. He doesn't know what he's talking about. And then they started forwarding that video or clip to other people as well. So this is something that this will first of all severely harm the community. Okay. Number two, you have this is the opposite of doing nasiha to the Muslim leaders. This is harmful, and this is in a way even a form of slandering. And you're causing fitna and division within the community by accusing certain people, even though the person who's doing the accusation is someone who is neither qualified nor is he anything of any value or benefit to the community. And the last piece, inshallah, nasiha to the average Muslim, to the normal Muslim. So how is this hadith applicable to the mass Muslims, to the average Muslims? Well, first of all, through your character, okay? So having good manners and good character and interactions with all of them, regardless of whether they're a boy or a girl, regardless of whether they are poor or wealthy, regardless of how old or young they are, regardless of whether they're Arab or non-Arab or whatever background that they come from. We show kindness and respect and towards everybody. And of course, when it comes to when we say respect in terms of Islamic respect, by following Islamic teachings. So, for example, when we say we respect each other based on our gender, it doesn't mean like for a boy to walk up to a girl, but like, yo, I respect you so much. I respect women. This is not what you're doing. That's ridiculous. Okay, if as a Muslim boy you want to show respect to the girls, so you show respect by lowering your gaze, by not talking to them, by not, and vice versa. By the way, I'm not picking on the boys. It's the same thing, other way around. Same thing with the poor and the rich. Nobody cares about how much money is in your bank account. It's all about how you treat other people. That's what's going to leave a lasting impact with them. The hadith of remember, love for yourself what you love for other people. Right. So just think of how you would like the people to treat you, and treat them in that manner, or even better than this, refraining from harming them, obviously, and teaching them and advising them about that which benefits them. And this is kind of something we already kind of skimmed over when we were talking about the Quran, right? That you guys all have knowledge about the Quran and some piece of knowledge about the Quran. So at the very least, go ahead and share that knowledge with someone else, advise them about what benefits them and what not. Any questions about this hadith? And sorry again I had to skim through it because we were kind of interrupted in the middle, but I hope the message kind of sort of got across. Any questions? Boys and girls? No questions? Good? No? Oh, okay. Okay. The next hadith up here on the screen, inshallah, we will be sharing it with you next week, bi'idhnillah. Or it'll be on the group chat. So if you're not receiving the hadiths and the challenges in the group chat, please let us know and we will add you. So, what was the reason behind the revelation of Surah Al-Ma'un? Muhammad. He pushed him away. Excellent, very good. One of the leaders of Quraysh, he was wealthy and he refused to help the orphan and he pushed him away. And we also mentioned the second half was talking about the hypocrites and how they would pray for the sake of showing off. What does Al-Ma'un mean? Yes, in the back. Yeah. Yeah. I'm sorry, you're going to have to raise your voice. There's a little bit of noise in the hall. Like, I couldn't fully hear the answer, to be honest. Because I think I heard something like the simplest or least, right? Very good. Okay. So the simplest form of aid and help that you can give someone, this is what we call it al-ma'un. Like something so trivial and so simple that it has no value to you. And when al-ma'un, of course, someone who withholds even that. What is the meaning of فَوَيْلٌ لِلْمُصَلِّينَ الَّذِينَ هُمْ عَنْ صَلَاتِهِمْ سَاهُونَ? Who can tell us? The Adam. Those who are exactly the people who pray, but they are neglectful and heedless about their prayers. What are some of the lessons that we learn from Surah Al-Ma'un? Nobody learned any lessons from Surah Allah. Yes? The dangers, okay, this is one thing, the dangers of showing off, right? We mentioned also the dangers of, being stingy with the blessings of Allah Azza wa Jal, being heedless and neglectful about prayers. This is all part of, the warnings that the surah is giving us. What does Naseehah mean in this hadith? Someone else who has not answered. Boys, I'm going to start picking on you if you don't raise your hands. Someone who has not answered. Say, yalla. Or if you don't know when I answer, I will have questions. Why don't you raise your hand? And I use the word nasiha in every single slide. Ask if you don't understand. Yes, in the back. Sorry? Advice? Not really. We redefined it. Yes? Boys and girls, I'm not helping you, by the way. You better tell me the answer. I want someone who has not participated. Boys in the back, anyone? Allahu Akbar. And we use the word nasiha 5 times. 5 times, as I was explaining it. And you're telling me, so if you don't understand, that means you don't understand the whole hadith. Should I go back and re-explain the hadith or? Yes? Eva? Yeah? So can you say that again with a little bit of yeah. Jazakumullah khair. That's exactly that word for word definition, I guess. Yes. Okay, boys, pay attention because half of you answered didn't know the answer. So it means you were not paying attention. When the hadith says religion is nasiha, okay? Advice, for the person who answered advice is a bad translation of this word, okay? Because it's advice plus many other things. It's telling you nasiha is basically any word or any action that is beneficial to that person or that whatever this nasiha is being applied upon. Okay? And having sincerity while you are doing that action or saying that word. Does that make sense? Joseph, you understand? Are you sure? You look confused, bro. No? Hmm. I don't know about that, bro. How can one do nasiha to Allah then? Yes, in the back. Rahim, yeah. So, you're not wrong, but I want something a little bit more specific than that. Nasiha to Allah. We mentioned there's nasiha to Allah, and to the Book of Allah, and to the Messenger of Allah, and we mentioned to the leaders, the Muslim leaders, and we mentioned the average Muslim. So now we're talking about Allah Azza wa Jal. Yes. Doing good deeds, avoiding the haram, okay, this is nasiha to Allah. Loving and honoring Allah Azza wa Jal, okay, being sincere towards Allah, believing properly in His names and attributes. How can one do nasiha to the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam? Yes? Loving him more than you love yourself and your family and everyone else. This is one thing. We mentioned loving, believing that he is the Prophet of Allah and that he's the final Prophet. Believing and following his Sunnah, defending him, defending the Sunnah, respecting and honoring him appropriately, right? How can one do nasiha to Muslims, to the average Muslim? Yes? Sorry, say that again. Not okay, so not harming people, being good to people, being well mannered, helping others, teaching them, advising them. So I hope this makes sense, guys. This is one of the most important hadiths. Are there any questions? Please ask. There are no silly questions, by the way. Please, if you have questions, just raise your hand and ask. Yes, in the back. All religions have? I couldn't hear the word. Changed. Oh, they have been changed. Okay. Yes, if her perspective is that, oh, that Islam has changed because the Quran has changed, and you by saying no, the Quran has not changed, this is an act of nasiha to the Quran. Exactly, right? You're defending the Quran and you're saying it for what it is. Other questions? Okay, moving on. Last week we began the topic of fasting. And this is very relevant because the month of Ramadan is around the corner. Girls, the month of Ramadan is right around the corner. So, with that said, we'll start with something that all of us know. In the front, what are you doing? If you want to sit back there, go sit back in there. If you're sitting in the front, you're facing the front, Habibi, okay? Ruling on fasting. What is the ruling on the act of fasting? So we will, inshallah, break this down in more detail in the other slides, but we know for sure fasting the month of Ramadan is obligatory for every accountable person. Do we understand the sentence? So fasting is obligatory upon every accountable. What does accountable person mean? You guys remember? What does accountable person mean? Huh? Quiz, pop quiz. What is accountable person? Yes, Eva. Exactly. Someone who has reached the age of puberty. Okay, this is what we call the accountable person, and of course they are sane as well. And there is Allah Azza wa Jalla says in the Quran in Surah Al-Baqarah, famous verse, يا أيها الذين آمنوا كتب عليكم الصيام كما كتب على الذين من قبلكم لعلكم تتقون. That, O believers in Allah, fasting is prescribed for you. It is fard for you, just like it was prescribed for those before you, such that you may become mindful. So clearly, it's very, very clear in this verse that and even in the upcoming verses, it mentions Shahru Ramadan, like it mentions the month Ramadan specifically, right? So fasting in Ramadan is 100% obligatory, no differences amongst any of the scholars. We have many, many hadiths in this regard as well. One time we're told, this is an authentic hadith, that one time a Bedouin man, an Arab man living in the desert, he came and to the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he asked, what did Allah Azza wa Jal obligate us to do in terms of fasting? So he doesn't know Islam, he's new to Islam, he's trying to learn. He's asking the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, what has Allah commanded us to do when it comes to fasting? So the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he responded and he says, you're obligated to fast the month of Ramadan. And then the Bedouin followed it up with another question, and he says, do I have to fast any other time? The Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he responded and he says, no, unless you want to do it voluntarily, out of the goodness of your heart. So clearly, the wording is very clear. Fasting in Ramadan is obligatory. You must do it as long as you have reached the age of puberty and you are a sane person. You must do it, boy or girl, school or no school, gym class, no gym class, final exams, no final exams. Fasting is obligatory for everybody. Okay? No excuses. Of course, well, there are excuses, of course, but we'll talk about those later, inshallah. Now, we're saying that fasting is obligatory on the month of Ramadan. Well, how do I know that it is actually the month of Ramadan? Well, obviously today, you guys should understand this. Actually, this is worth the time. Now, this gets into the concept of sighting the moon. But before that, I want to explain a concept really, really quickly. Because nowadays, has anyone here ever looked up an Islamic calendar before on their phone? Yes? Or like on the computer, or like from their parents' phone or something. You guys have looked up an Islamic calendar. Like right now, right where you are sitting, you can take your phone and you can Google Islamic calendar, and you can look up when the month of Ramadan will start. The next Ramadan, when will the next Ramadan begin? And it will probably tell you, you can look and it will tell you, oh, Ramadan will begin in the 17th of February, or something like that, 17th of February of 2026. Today is not my day, as you can tell. MashaAllah, getting interrupted every 5 seconds for some Allahu A'lam what. So, boys and girls, I'm using my voice now. So, I don't want to lose my voice. Even though the ladies on the other side feels like they will make me lose my voice. As I mentioned, right now you can look up on your phone Islamic calendar, and you can look up the exact day and the date in your calendar for when Ramadan will start. So how is this possible? Well, the reason why this is possible is because, sorry, I'm so distracted right now, subhanAllah. The issue today is, or it's not really an issue. Now, today, technology has become so advanced, right? We have telescopes, we have all of this fancy technology to track the planets and track the movements of the planets, right? So based on the calculations of the astronauts, they can come up with an approximation or an estimate of when will the month of Ramadan begin. Okay? However, you have to realize that all this gives to us is an estimate. It is not used as a reliable source that, okay, this is when Ramadan will begin. Okay? Does that kind of make sense, what I'm trying to say? So let me elaborate a little bit. The only way we know for sure that the month of Ramadan has begun is by sighting the new moon. Have you guys studied the phases of the moon in science class before? No? You guys know, okay, like for those, okay, even if you have not studied, you've just been looking up at the sky at night. Sometimes you notice that the sky doesn't have a moon, right? It's just a completely dark sky. and then it starts as a very thin crescent, right? And then it becomes more and more and more visible, and then it becomes half a moon, and then becomes more and more, and then it becomes a full moon, right? And then as time passes, it becomes to disappear, 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 until it disappears completely, right? Any questions so far? You guys are with me? Okay. Sorry, I'm trying to stay focused. Um, so this is what we call the phases of the moon. Okay. It starts as nothing, and then it grows to become a full moon, and then it disappears again. Right. So, with that said, this is how our Islamic calendar. This is how the Islamic calendar works. Okay. This is how the Islamic calendar works. This is how we know that a new month has begun and how a month has ended. Okay? So, therefore, you will notice in the month of Sha'ban, before the month of Ramadan, you will start noticing all of these countries. You will start to notice all of these countries, they're announcing that we have seen the moon or we have not seen the moon. Have you guys heard? You guys know what I'm talking about? Yes? Okay. So, this is what I'm talking about. This action of actually seeing the moon is important to determine whether the month of Ramadan has actually begun. Because the Rasul ﷺ, he says about the moon, when you see it, then go ahead and fast. Okay? And so, and if the new moon is not sighted by Maghrib time, okay? If the new moon is not sighted by Maghrib time, then it is assumed that Ramadan has not entered, even if other countries have announced it, okay? It is assumed that Ramadan has not begun and that there's still one more day left in the month, and then Ramadan will actually begin. Because the Rasul ﷺ, he said in the hadith, fast when you see the moon and stop fasting when you see the moon. Meaning, fast when you see the moon at the start of the month and stop when you see the moon at the start of the next month. Meaning, Shawwal, like Eid, right? And if it's too cloudy for you to see it, then complete the month of Sha'ban as 30 days, meaning Ramadan has not begun. Why? Because you did not see the moon. Okay? There's also another authentic narration where one of the Sahaba, he mentions that I went to travel to Syria. And in Syria, and this was right before Ramadan. And in Syria, we saw the moon. We saw the moon in the evening, and we assumed that Ramadan, khalas, we're going to be fasting tomorrow. I came back to Medina, and I saw that the people in Medina were not fasting. And when he asked, like, what's up with that, right? They basically said that we did not see the moon in Medina, and so they did not fast. Now, how come that means that some people in the world are fasting and some other people in the world are not fasting? How does that make any sense? Very simple. Because the start and the end of Ramadan is determined purely by the sighting of the moon. Okay? Does that make sense? So meaning, okay, in the next upcoming Ramadan, when you hear the announcement, oh, Saudi Arabia has announced that they have seen and they have sighted the moon, and they have announced that Ramadan is going to be tomorrow. As a Muslim living in Calgary, do I just say like, khalas, Saudi announced it, therefore let me start fasting here in Canada? Yes or no? No. Why not? Because I need to see the moon here. And this is why in Calgary, the Islamic organizations, they work together. On the evening of Ramadan, they work together and they try to see the new moon. They try to go and sight the new moon so that they can announce the start of Ramadan. And this is typically what takes place. I'm going to stop for a second to go and make them hear some smack, and then I'll come back, okay? Be right back in 1 minute. حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل. Can we close that door? Don't let anyone in, please. Ya akhi, please. Oof. Wallahi, I already know I'm going to wake up tomorrow with a sore throat. Alhamdulillah. So, anyways, do we understand this point about the moon sighting? Yes? Move on? Okay. So now let's go back to the concept of the actual fasting. I'll take questions after. Okay. So who is actually expected to fast? They must meet these 6 conditions. First of all, you need to be a Muslim. Okay. So your buddy at school who says, "Oh, yo, I want to try fasting too with you." Okay. They can fast, but it's not accepted. Okay, because they're not a Muslim. You have to be an adult. By adult, I don't mean 18 plus. I mean adult as in you have reached the age of puberty. How do you know if you've reached the age of puberty? If you know, you know. Okay. If you don't know, then probably you have not reached the age of puberty. Okay. And you can ask your mom and dad for more details. I've covered this stuff previously. Being of sound mind. Okay. So you don't have any mental issues. Okay. Alhamdulillah. Yani if you have a healthy brain, you know what is right versus what is wrong and whatnot. Then you meet the condition. Alhamdulillah. Being a resident and not traveling. So this is an interesting exception because we're going to talk about this more later, inshallah. The person who is traveling is excused from fasting. Okay? So if you are not traveling, you are just staying in a place, then you are expected to fast. But let's say it's Ramadan and you're in the airplane and you're traveling from one place to another, and it's like from one city to another, few hours on an airplane. Then on that day, once the airplane takes off and once you actually commence your travel, you're not expected to actually fast. Okay. Having the health to fast. So obviously, someone who's sick, they're excused from fasting. Someone who has certain health issues, or they're at a certain age where if they were to fast, it poses serious risks for their health, they're excused from fasting. We'll get to this. We'll elaborate on each of these points, inshallah, more in the future lectures. For now, we're just listing them down. And lastly, for the women specifically, to be free from your menses or from your nifas. Of course, menses is your period, is your monthly period, and your nifas is the postpartum. So after a woman gives birth, for like 30, 40 days, she is excused from fasting and praying and all of these different things. So as long as you meet all of these conditions, then you are expected to go ahead and fast the month of Ramadan. Again, notice the list does not have being a student, being in a final exam season, having midterms, being stressed out. If the day is more than 15 hours long, then excused. None of that stuff. Okay? So you may hear certain people telling you certain things. We don't care about what people say. We care about what the Quran and the Sunnah say. Okay? So this is the conditions of fasting. Now, what are the different categories / types of fasting? We have the obligatory fast, we have the voluntary fast, we have the disliked fast, and we have the haram fast. So which one is which? The obligatory fast, we already mentioned fasting the month of Ramadan. But also the obligatory fast includes any make-up fasts that you need to do for having missed it in Ramadan. Okay? So you missed, for a valid excuse, you missed, maybe you were traveling, okay? And you did not fast on that day because you were traveling. So now you still need to fast one more day after the month of Ramadan. This is an obligatory fast. You must make it up. If a person made a vow to Allah, like a person said, "Ya Allah, if you give me 100% in this math exam, I promise you, I swear to you that I will fast." Okay? So someone who promises something to Allah. Now, because you made a promise with Allah, you must now go and fast. And this fast becomes obligatory upon you. Of the obligatory fasts as well is the expiation for a sin. So we know, for example, that if a person swears by Allah, and does not actually stick to what he swore by Allah with, then he must pay an expiation. And that expiation can be in the form of several different things. Among them is to fast 3 days. This is just one example. Okay? So these 3 days become obligatory upon you. You must go and fast them. Because again, there's no messing around when it comes to swearing and using the name of Allah Azza wa Jal. Okay? So this is in terms of obligatory fasting. There is also the recommended fasting, the sunnah fasting, okay? And that has many different forms. I didn't write them down. There's fasting every Monday and every Thursday, fasting the 13th, 14th, and 15th day of every Hijri month, fasting specific days, the 10th of Muharram, for example. These are all recommended fasts, meaning if you fast them, then you get rewarded a lot. But if you don't fast them, then you're not sinful. Okay? There's also the disliked fasting. For example, we are told in a hadith that it is disliked for a person to fast on a Friday on its own. Okay? That's right. Like imagine I don't fast any Mondays or any Thursdays or anything. I just say to myself, you know what? Every Friday I'm going to fast. This is not haram, but it is categorized as disliked. And there is also the haram fasting. Haram fasting, when is it haram for me to fast? Simple. When it is the day of Eid. There's two situations. When it is one of the 2 days of Eid, okay, Eid al-Fitr or Eid al-Adha, these are meant to be days of celebration, of enjoying with your family and eating and drinking, and it's a day of happiness, okay? And let's be honest here, we all love it. We all love to eat and drink, right? It's part of your joy. And in Eid, when your parents, you're invited to a big feast, and mashallah, there's the biryani here, and there's a shawarma there, and there's mashallah, a big nice feast, and you're like, your mouth is watering, right? And you're just thinking about, I'm gonna eat this, I'm gonna eat that. It's part of having fun in Eid. So actually, it is haram for a Muslim to fast on Eid. It's sinful if you fast on Eid. You don't get rewards, you get sins. Also, it is haram to fast on the days of at-tashriq. What are the days of at-tashriq? The days of at-tashriq are the days, are 3 days during the season of Hajj, which come on, of course, coincides with the month of Dhul Hijjah, the last month of the Islamic year. The 10th of Dhul Hijjah is the day of Eid al-Adha. So that is haram to fast. But also the 11th, 12th, and 13th, this is what we call the days of at-tashriq. Okay, we're not going to go into details. What does it mean, days of tashriq? But just for now, these 3 days, it is haram for a person to fast. So this is all the types of different fasts that we have in Islam: obligatory, recommended, disliked, haram. Any questions? You had a question? Yes. So as soon as you break your fast, خلاص. Okay. Okay, let's say you were in Saudi, okay? They were not fasting, okay? And then you went to travel back to Calgary, and somehow, mashallah, they created this new airplane that is lightning speed, and eventually we made it to Calgary back in 1 hour, okay, from Saudi. And you landed in Calgary, and you saw that everybody was fasting, okay? The day has already started, okay? You're already between Fajr and Maghrib. You're either fasting or you're not. You cannot be in a state of not fasting and then start fasting again, and vice versa. Okay? So, does that make sense? Okay? Yes? If you fasted some days and then yes, yes. Any obligatory, so anything in the month of Ramadan that you did not fast for a valid excuse, okay? And traveling is a valid excuse, okay? You traveled, so you broke your fast. You needed to, because you get dizzy on an airplane, whatever. You need to drink water, you need to eat food, whatever. And then you landed. So on that day, you ate, you drank. Khalas, you did not fast on that day. So one out of the days of Ramadan has not been fasted. That needs to be made up later. Okay? Question? That's a very good question. Do you have to make up the fast as soon, boys? Do you have to make up the fast as soon as Ramadan ends? The answer is no. Okay, and we'll talk about this in more detail. But you need to fast them before the next Ramadan starts. Okay. Yes.
We're in Calgary and we're traveling. And once you get sick and already ate that day and the day is not over, still class, finish your class, or
You always follow the country that you're currently in. Okay, you follow the country. So if the place that I am in, everybody is fasting because they did not see the moon or whatnot, I should continue to fast. Okay. Um, yes, in the back.
you have to do the feeding something.
If you swear by Allah, okay, and then well, it depends. If you're swearing by Allah, but you're doing it as part of casual talk, okay, like wallah, bro, my mom cooked a shawarma, like was best shawarma in the world. Okay, like obviously when you said wallah, right? It's swearing by Allah. But obviously you do not mean like I swear to you by Allah, my mom just cooked. Okay, that's not what you mean, right? It's just casual talk. In that case, it's fine. Or if you said you swore by Allah, you said wallah, and then at some point you said insha'Allah. Wallahi, I shall slap you, insha'Allah. Okay? That does not, you do not have to fast anything. Okay? But if, for example, you said, Wallahi, I am going to read Quran tomorrow morning, and you said it seriously, knowing exactly what you were saying, and tomorrow morning you woke up and you did not read Quran, now you have to do the expiation. You need to pay the penalty. Sir Mu'ad.
What if you fast, but like, what if you miss the fast, but like, it wasn't for bad reason?
What if you missed the fast but it wasn't for a valid reason? This is what scholars get into a difference with. Because now you've done a major sin. Someone who intentionally breaks their fast in the month of Ramadan, knowing that they should not be doing that, this is now a major sin. Like it's like purposely missing the salah, for example. It's a big deal, right? So some scholars they tell you you did not have a valid reason, therefore you're making it up is by you making tawbah to Allah Azza wa Jal and feeling bad and guilty about what you did and never doing that ever again. Whereas some scholars they will tell you you have to go and make it up. Okay, so just that one day, yes. But either way, guys, please do not ever do this. It's a big deal. Okay, don't ever think that you can squeeze myself out of fasting in Ramadan just because I'm tired on that day. No, even if you're tired, even if whatever, okay, unless you're genuinely sick, you're not allowed to break your fast. Yes.
Could you still not fast when you're not old enough?
No, you have to fast when you're old enough. Yes, Muhammad.
Um, what if you accidentally
If you accidentally did it, accidents Allah Azza wa Jal does not take into account for. But if you knew that it was one of those days and you're like, no, I'm still going to do it, then it is haram.
what if you know you're still fasting and
Then you break the fast. Yes, you break it. You have to break it. Yes. Question? Last question.
Ramadan, if you forgot to fast, is it still okay?
Forgot to fast in Ramadan? I don't know how you would forget to fast, but if a person genuinely, subhanAllah, just completely forgets, loses his memory and says like, oh, he completely forgets Ramadan, forgetfulness is also one of the things that Allah Azza wa Jal forgives. Okay? But it's almost impossible to forget that it's Ramadan because There's Taraweeh every night, and then there's your rest of your family is also fasting. There's suhoor, there's iftar, and all of these things, right? It's kind of difficult to forget that there is Ramadan, okay? I'll take some more questions later just because Maghrib is right around the corner. It's in 15 more minutes. So I'm just going to continue to the Seerah, inshallah. I'll take some questions at the end. So we are still in the middle of the Battle of Uhud, boys and girls. So to kind of make more sense of what's currently happening in the battlefield, because we mentioned it's complete chaos, right? So just picture it in this way. The Muslims right now, as soon as the Rasul told the Muslims that you guys are being attacked, watch out from behind you, Khalid ibn al-Walid and his group is attacking you. The Muslims split up into 3 different categories, you can say. The first category, they were the people who were collecting the spoils of war. They completely panicked, they got scared, they got terrified. So as soon as they heard this, they began running for their lives. They either began climbing in the mountains and hiding in the mountains, or some of them, they ran back to Medina. They fled the battlefield. Another group was kind of, they didn't abandon, they didn't run away, okay? But at the same time, they were so confused, they didn't know what was going on. And so this is what caused some Muslims to start fighting other Muslims, not knowing that they were Muslims. Like nobody knew where the enemy was. They just knew that there was an enemy somewhere. And more importantly, they had no idea where the Rasul was. And so they became stressed and they became anxious and they were worried for his well-being. And this would later become really important because next class we'll cover it, but there was a rumor going around in the battlefield that the Rasul died, that he was killed. So these people completely freaked out. And they were so worried and anxious and they became really demoralized when they heard this rumor. But we'll get to this in next week, inshallah. And then there was a third group. Those Muslims were the closest at that point to the Rasul in terms of where they were in location. Like they could see the Rasul, they could see the enemy. So those people, they rushed towards helping the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. However, this third group, and this is going to be what we're going to be focusing on, there weren't that many. There were only 9 people in total. Subhanallah. The Muslims, we mentioned, there are 700 in total. Can you please stop? There were 700 men in total. Out of 700, only 9 people were around the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And we are told their names. They are 2 really big names. We should memorize these names, by the way, because they are among the 10 that are promised Jannah. You should know these 2 names. Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas and Talha ibn Ubaidillah. Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas and Talha ibn Ubaidillah. These are 2 of the best of the Sahaba. They are among the 10 people who are promised Jannah. So you should memorize their names. In addition to these 2, there were 7 people from among the Ansar. Now, why are their names not mentioned? Why did I not list down their names? Simple reason. Unfortunately, they got killed so fast that we don't even know their names. Subhanallah. Because the Quraysh was coming to attack the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and so the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he was so cornered that he told those people, who among you is willing to turn around and fight the Quraysh, and I shall guarantee him Jannah. Like basically he's telling them who is willing to go and die. Because by you turning around, you're one man, turning around and fighting an entire Quraysh, you're not surviving that. But he's saying to them, if you do it, I will guarantee you shall enter Jannah. And so one by one, the Ansar would go. The first man would volunteer, say, I will go. So he would go and he would fight and fight and fight and he would get killed. And then the army, he would delay the army by a little bit, but then the army will start coming closer and closer and closer. Once they're close enough, he asks again, who amongst you will go and fight the army and, defend us from them? Another man from the Ansar would step up and he would delay the army a little bit. One by one by one, all of these people from the Ansar, they stepped up and one by one they got killed, all of them. And of course, as the Rasul said, inshallah, they are guaranteed Jannah bi'idhnillah. And so, can you imagine, Rasul was left with only 2 people defending. And so, can you imagine, Rasul was left with only 2 people defending him. And by the way, this point in the Seerah, without any exaggeration, by the way, this is the most dangerous point in the Seerah for the Rasul Like the Rasul was never ever more threatened than this exact point in the Seerah. Because there's a whole army coming after him, maybe 100 or something around that, and he only has 2 people. And he is running for his life. and they are fighting to protect him. So this was a very, very, very sensitive point in the seerah during the lifetime of the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And we are told that Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he did not get out of this uninjured. He actually even got injured. So what was he even trying to do? Him and these 9 people who were with him, they were aiming to get the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam up somewhere in the mountain of Uhud, not in the peak, but somewhere up the mountain so they could hide him in a crack in the mountain. Not even a cave. Like, it's just a crack, a crevice inside the mountain where it can fit one person. And of course, the Sahaba, the Ansar specifically, they knew Medina inside out. They knew Uhud, so they knew exactly where they were going. So they were taking the Rasul ﷺ to get to that location. And while they were taking him up, one by one, they would go and they would get killed. And while the Rasul ﷺ was making his way up to the mountain of Uhud, we are told that he suffered a bunch of injuries. So we are told of the injuries is, and one of the enemies, he got close enough for the Rasul ﷺ. He didn't have any arrows or anything. So what he did is he grabbed one of the rocks at the base of the mountain and he threw it as hard as he could towards the Rasul ﷺ, and it hit the face of the Rasul ﷺ. And it hit his lip and it caused it to gush out blood, and it became bruised, and it also broke his tooth, his lower tooth, like not the 2 front lower teeth, one of the teeth that was next to the front 2 teeth. Okay, one of the lower teeth, it got broken. We are also told that at some point while he was running up the mountain, he was struck on his forehead. We don't know, was it by a sword or by a rock or by something? He got struck on his forehead. Something struck his forehead and it caused his head to start bleeding as well. Can you imagine? This is Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And the worst injury out of all of the injuries was actually an injury caused by a man by name of Ibn Qami'ah. He had his sword. He had a horse and a sword. And he came close enough to Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he actually swung his sword and he actually hit the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But he didn't hit his skin. So the injury wasn't because of the sword. Rather, it was because of the armor that the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam was wearing. So you guys have seen maybe some of the cartoons in the past or some of the medieval movies or something like this. You know how the warriors, they wear this armor and they wear this helmet, and in their helmet, there's a bunch of chains over here, right? Like in the back or something. Like they look like a samurai warrior or something. Like, I don't know. Okay. But you guys know what I'm talking about, right? Like a chain, like they have chains going down here, and in the back, it's supposed to protect them. So this man, he hit the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam with his sword. It hit the chains of his armor, and it caused the chains of that to go into his cheek. So it got pierced into his cheek. And you can imagine how painful that is. SubhanAllah. Probably none of us experienced anything as painful as that. In addition to the forehead, in addition to the lip and a broken tooth, and a broken tooth is very painful, by the way, his 2 pieces of metal rings, they went into his cheek, and you cannot simply just pull it out. Okay, very, very, very painful. And subhanAllah, nobody could blame the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam at this point for getting angry. But we are told that Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he wiped the blood, and out of his emotions and anger and his frustration, he yelled back at the Quraysh, and he said to them something. Honestly, if any of us were to say it today, nobody would blame them. Okay? And he didn't even say to them anything bad. He simply said to them, how can a nation ever be successful if this is what they did to their prophet? Like, you can understand, he's frustrated, he's angry. So he's saying to them, how can you guys expect to be successful when your prophet is bleeding and his head is injured and his tooth is broken? Like, meaning, do you think Allah is going to make you successful now? But subhanAllah, even though his anger is justified, Allah Azza wa Jalla revealed a very harsh verse in the Quran, in Surah Al Imran. And Allah Azza wa Jalla says, لَيْسَ لَكَ مِنَ الْأَمْرِ شَيْءٍ. You have nothing to do with the matter. This is Allah saying to the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. SubhanAllah. It's a very harsh phrase. Can you, in the front, Habibi, turn around. This is the second time I'm telling you. You have no say in this matter whatsoever. So subhanAllah, it's a harsh verse, but it's an important reality as well. Even the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam, the best human being, the most beloved person to Allah Azza wa Jal, he even does not have the right to judge someone and say, you will not be forgiven. Subhanallah. So if that's the case for the Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, then what about me and you? You think that I have the right to look at someone and say, this person is going to Jannah, this person is going to Jahannam. This person, Allah will forgive him, this person, Allah will never forgive him. Subhanallah. If Allah is telling the Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, you have nothing to do with this. It's only Allah who can forgive. It's only Allah who chooses to guide or misguide. Who am I to judge anybody in front of me? So after this verse was revealed, the Rasul ﷺ would now change his phrasing. And instead of saying, oh Allah, this is what my people are doing to me, he said, oh Allah, forgive my people because they do not know. Forgive my people because they are ignorant. So subhanAllah, he started asking Allah to forgive them. And many of the Quraysh, in fact, they did get forgiven many years later when they actually converted to Islam. In the meantime, while all of this was taking place, Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas and Talha ibn Ubaidillah, the last two men standing next to the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, were of course fighting and defending him with their lives, literally. Next week we'll inshallah talk about more incidents where they would literally use their own bodies to shield the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam from any kind of incoming attacks. The angels were present as well. We're going to talk about this more next week, inshallah. Unfortunately, we do not have time for questions, so if you have questions, you can feel free to come after Maghrib, inshallah, where we will give the food and then wrap up, inshallah. Let's quickly cover the questions. What is the Islamic ruling of fasting in Ramadan? Very, very quick. Muhammad. Obligatory. Jazakallah khair. How do Muslims know that the month of Ramadan has started? Yes? The moon sighting, seeing the new moon. What are the conditions that make it obligatory to fast Ramadan? Mu'ad? Be Muslim? An adult, okay. I'm giving you a hint, ya akhi. Be of sound mind, right? Traveling or not traveling? No traveling. Sick or healthy? Being healthy. And for the lady, being free of her period or her nifas. Okay, Jazakallah khair. When is it actually prohibited to fast? No, you have to fast in Ramadan. Yes, in the back corner. Eid and Ayyam al-Tashriq, the days of Eid and during the 3 days of al-Tashriq. What happened to the Muslims when the Rasul ﷺ warned them about the Quraysh's attack? Adam? Jazakallah khairan. Some of them fled, some of them stayed, some of them went to the Rasul ﷺ. How many men were protecting the Rasul ﷺ at the start of the attack? Yes, 9 people. How was the Rasul ﷺ injured in the Battle of Uhud? Yes. Yeah. Pierced his cheek. What else? Lost a tooth and his lips were bruised. Jazakallah khairan. Very good. Last question. What do we learn from Allah's revelation when Allah said to the Rasul ﷺ, you have no say in this matter? What do we learn from this? In the very back. Exactly. Guidance and forgiveness are by Allah Azza wa Jal. Jazakumullah khairan. You can come back after Salah for your awards, inshallah.